everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. If you jump on here live here on this Thursday evening, you know the drill. Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. Down below, make sure to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. I know there's a NFL game tonight that should be a pretty competitive game, and I know the NFL is very popular. I'm going to try my best to be done by the time it starts. It all depends on how many comments I get as I go. There's a college football game going on right now, but that's two awful football teams. So I don't know if anybody's actually watching that game. But let's talk about some of the games coming up tomorrow and Saturday. And this is a weekend where there's quite a few good games on, but to me, most of the good games, at least on paper, good evening, Keveron. Glad to have you here. As always, are at noon. They put too many games on at noontime, in my opinion, which is funny because usually, Fox tries to carry a big-time game at noon, and their pregame show has the same name as the kickoff, which tells you how big the kickoff is, for Fox. So usually the Fox noon game is pretty much either the game of the day or maybe the second biggest game of the day compared to the primetime game. So typically the other networks don't carry good games at noon because you're competing with Fox. And usually Fox is carrying Ohio State, Indiana, Penn State, Oregon, Texas Tech, Utah, somebody from the Big 10 or Big 12 that's inside the top 5. So generally the other networks don't try to compete with that. But tomorrow night at 7:30, we have California and Virginia Tech. And, of course, the Hokies look a little bit better since they fired Brent Pry, but still not a great football team. Hey there, Scott. Glad to have you here. Hey there, Chris. Glad to have you here. And California is probably the best they've been in quite a while this year, so their head coach was supposedly on the hot seat when the season started. I don't think he's going anywhere. And Scott and Chris, I think it's the first time I've seen y'all's names in the comments section. If it is y'all's first time being here, for whatever reason made you stop by the channel, thank you so much. And feel free to give the video a like, a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. And Chris, I'm glad you told me your name was Jordan, but I'll probably still call you Chris unless you continuously remind me that your name is Jordan. But, when somebody leaves a comment, the only thing I see is the name of what the comment's under. So if it pops up that your name is Mr. Bob, to me, then you're Mr. Bob. But thank you for telling me that your name is Jordan. I will try my best to call you Jordan, but I'm glad to have you here. Nevertheless, hey there, Austin. Glad to have you here. Now, coming up on Saturday, here's a list of the noon games. And I think most, if not all of them, will be pretty good games. The Fox noon game is UCLA and Indiana. Now, a month ago, it looked like this game was going to be a blowout. But ever since UCLA fired Deshaun Foster, they look like a completely different football team. But I think Indiana will still win, but I think it'll be a lot more competitive than I would have said it would have been a month ago. Because a month ago, UCLA might have been the worst team in the country as far as Power 4 teams. Noon on ESPN, Syracuse and Georgia Tech. This might be the only noon game that's not competitive because ever since Syracuse lost their quarterback, Peanut Butter and Jelly, they've been absolutely terrible. But now if they still had him, this game probably be competitive. But ABC at noon has Ole Miss and Oklahoma. And I think this will be a fantastic game. Austin, I've actually got SWA Fightmare 20 coming up Saturday night, and it'll be a late show because it's our biggest show of the year, so I probably won't get home till probably midnight Saturday night, maybe a little after that, closer to Sunday morning. We've got 3 cage matches, so it'll be at least a 3.5, 4 hour show. But I will try to watch main events sometime. But Austin, I've mentioned this quite a few times here on the channel recently. Ever since WrestleMania, WWE has done nothing to get my attention. They don't have no compelling storyline right now. They have just let way too many wrestlers go to where now they're down to 40 wrestlers. So now when big time wrestlers get hurt, which right now you've got Seth Rollins out due to an injury, but now when a big time wrestler gets hurt, it's hard to have a backup plan because you have no backups. You let them all go. But they've done nothing to get my attention since WrestleMania. Hey there, Beth. Glad to have you here. I've never been an LA Knight fan, but for whatever reason, the fans love LA Knight. But they've pretty much given up on him now because for the last year and a half, every meaningful feud he's in, he loses. And after a while, if you can't win a match, people don't care anymore. It's kind of like Bray Wyatt. When Bray Wyatt was there, his first go around, eventually the fans started getting behind him, started liking him, started pulling for him. And then every pay-per-view he wrestled on, he lost. He never won a match. And then by the time he won the championship, the fans didn't care no more. When you lose every match you're in, after a while, the people just don't take you serious. And I think they've done that now with LA Knight. They feel like he's so popular, they can do anything with him and fans get behind him. But after a while, when you lose all the time, people just don't care anymore. I've never been an LA Knight fan, but I think they've waited too long for him. AEW is probably better right now, Austin. The only thing that holds them back is I despise the Young Bucks. I cannot stand the Young Bucks. ACC Network at noon has Virginia and North Carolina. Virginia might win the ACC, but every game they play just about comes down to the fourth quarter. They just don't blow anybody out. They take everything down to the wire and somehow or another come out on the winning side in just about every game they play. They are undefeated in conference play because their loss to NC State was a non-conference game. Noon on ESPN2 is South Florida and Memphis. This will be a good game as well. And I think Chris Jericho is going to return, Austin, but the problem is he'll be 55 next month, and he ain't had a good match in about 3 years. So I don't really know if it does him any good to return because ever since he left and went to AEW, he looks like he lost about 20 steps. He's just gotten really slow, and he'll be 55 next month, so he's not going to get any faster. So I don't know what good it does him, but I do think he's going to return. We have Northwestern and Nebraska, the noon game on Fox Sports 1, and Rutgers and Purdue on the Big Ten Network. Another noon game that should be a good one, SMU and Wake Forest. Kansas State and Kansas on TNT. Appalachian State and Old Dominion on ESPN-U. That's all the noon games, and I think every one of them is going to be good, except for maybe Syracuse and Georgia Tech, because as I mentioned, ever since Syracuse lost peanut butter and jelly at quarterback, they just have not looked worth the darn. He probably will go in the Hall of Fame, Austin. It wouldn't be something he goes in the same time Stephanie McMahon does when they had their big feud. Ever how many years ago that was now. 12:45 on the SEC Network. Auburn and Arkansas. There's rumors going around that Jackson Arnold is about to lose his starting job as the Auburn quarterback. Now let's move to the 3:30 games. ABC at 3:30 has Alabama and South Carolina. Probably the best 3:30 game. ESPN one loss Missouri, and one loss Vanderbilt. Fox has BYU and Iowa State. Illinois and Washington are on the Big Ten Network. Minnesota and Iowa are on CBS. Now, see, I think that would be a good football game because you got two teams that love to run the ball and win by defense. Now, I will say this year, Minnesota's throwing the ball more than usual. I hope not Austin because there's not many people left that they can release. And Nicolas Cage, glad to have you here. We're talking some college football. NC State and Pittsburgh on the ACC Network. 4 o'clock on ESPNU, Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. ESPN2 has Cincinnati and Baylor. 4:15, we have Texas and Mississippi State on the SEC Network. 7 o'clock, Wisconsin and Oregon. And then Stanford and Miami will be on ESPN. 7:30, we have Boston College and Louisville on the ACC Network. Michigan and Michigan State on NBC. 7:45 on the SEC Network is Tennessee and Kentucky. Hey there, Vicky. Glad to have you here. And Vicky, I think it's the first time I've seen your name in the comments section. If it's your first time for being here, feel free to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, please do so. And for whatever reason made you stop by the channel tonight, thank you, and feel free to share the video on all social media platforms. I know Kentucky is terrible, and right now, Mark Stoops should be ashamed of himself for coaching football this bad. But the last 4 times Tennessee has played Kentucky in Lexington, I think it's been a one-score game all 4 times. Saturday might be the same, but it shouldn't be because Kentucky just can't score. And thank you for subscribing, Vicky. I appreciate that. And Austin actually talked to NASCAR earlier in the week. It might have been Tuesday maybe, but I talked to NASCAR earlier in the week because only 2 more races left in the season. I'm so scared that Denny Hamlin might win his first championship, and I can't stand Denny Hamlin. 8 o'clock on ESPN2, Houston and Arizona State. And then the late game for all you late night owls, you hoot owls out there, ESPN Colorado and Utah. Any thoughts on any of this? Please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. And Nicholas, you can't call anybody else a know-it-all when you're trying to correct somebody. My daughter was doing history homework, and she asked me what I knew about Galileo, and I said, he was a poor boy from a poor family. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.